It's your weekly breakaway for fun conversations on pro cycling and so much more. Join us as we go beyond the slipstream. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we'll do deep-ish dives on bike races, movies, bands, and all manner of shiny pop cultural objects. Oh, and did I mention bike races? We're kind of obsessed. Allez!
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Slipstream. I'm Justin and this is my brother Matt. And today in our first segment, we're going to the gorgeous coast of northern Spain as we break down all the action from the men's Volta Ciclista a Catalunya. Then we'll turn our attention to a far less forgiving northern coastline, this time in Belgium, for recaps of the men's and women's classic Brugge-de-Panne. And we're staying in Belgium for segment 3 for coverage of 2 more spring classics. What we thought would be a Pogacar vs. Van der Poel rematch at E3 Saxo Classic, and the women's and men's Gent Wevelgem in Flanders Fields. And as always, we'll finish with a bumpy ride over the Belgian cobbles in the Broom Wagon. Allez! Please note, this segment will contain spoilers. If you have not watched the finish of the race and wish to remain unspoiled, please jump ahead to segment 2. The Volta Ciclista a Catalunya is the 4th oldest stage race in the world, going strong for over a century since 1911. The race usually serves up fireworks on the final stage, raced over a legendary circuit in Barcelona featuring the formidable Montjuic climb. Whether the day is decisive for the GC picture is another matter. Matt, fireworks at the finish. Decisive GC action. Just how was that finish in Barcelona?
That finish in Barcelona was awesome, if you ask me. I mean, first of all, this parkour is just stunning, just absolutely stunning. There's like basically there's kind of 2 climbs on the circuit, and they're short and nasty.
Yes, they are.
And it's just, man, when it goes uphill, the splits just start happening. It separates the men from the boys. And yeah, it certainly served up a nice one for us today because
Your boy.
my boy, baby, Primo's coming through in a big way. I think he made his move on the 3rd to last lap of the circuits, right? With 25 odd K to go. Yeah, and he just stuck a whole bunch of distance between him and the Ayuso, front guys. Ultimately, Ayuso ended up in the 3rd group, the second chase group back. Did not have a great day. But yeah, Primo's got ahead.
Outside of Mark Soleri's team was basically non-existent.
Yeah, I said he'd probably have a few words to say to his team in the bus afterwards. I don't know, but yeah, Primo's just got it done when he made his move, made it stick, and then utilized his time trialing ability to keep that lead. And I think he finished with a good 12 seconds, 15 seconds in hand. Something like that. I think his overall win was 19 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, I think the thing that is really most interesting about this race this week, while we're talking the GC, because I do, there's other things I want to talk about, but while we're talking about the GC, I mean, this was a great race between these 2 guys. It was back and forth. It was edge of your seat. They were trading blows. They traded stage wins, they traded the lead multiple times, and we're talking by seconds. You know what I mean? It wasn't like these big, 20-second gaps. There was 1 second difference between these guys in multiple points in this race over multiple days. Now, obviously, we had the very weird day yesterday where the stage was, essentially, taken away. Outside of 27K mad dash to the finish. But, as far as the GC was concerned, that was going to be the day. That was the big mountain stage, the huge summit finish. that didn't happen. And so you go into this final stage with a literal 1 second difference between Ayuso and Roglic. And, they're going after the intermediate sprints, and, Roglic grabs one and goes ahead. Ayuso grabs one and goes back ahead. Primos's team kind of fumbles the bag and, ends up costing him a second that would have put them on time together. And so, Primoz is essentially left with only one choice. With no more seconds to grab, he's got to get the stage win. And he shows that, in my opinion, when Primoz Roglic is on form and he's not injured and he is racing at the peak level that that his ability affords him, he's a damn good bike rider. He is wily, he makes good decisions, and he knows how to win a race. He knows how to make the move that needs to be made to take the race. And chapeau to him. He had a great day, and it was a great win, and it was just a great week of racing. And there's a bunch of other things I want to talk about, but what do you have to say about all that?
Well, I think the big question is like, has Ayuso's level come up to Primoz's, or is Primo? Because the whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, okay, Primoz just beat Juan Ayuso by 15, 20 seconds after having been locked up with him all week. Does this mean that like if he's up against Jonas and Tade, like they're just like smoking him? Because I don't see Ayuso being anywhere near the level of Jonas and Tade. But Primoz is going to be going against those guys in the Tour de France this year. I mean, that's one of the great tragedies of recent years in cycling is that Primoz never got his Tour de France. There's never been a more deserving guy, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's like, to me, this is all about like, what does this tell us about what we're looking at for the summer?
All right. Well, I mean, when it comes to Ayuso, look, man, he can hang with. He's a great time trialist. He is a great climber. I definitely think he's on the come up. He's obviously, dude, he's super young. So, is it? I would think that it's more that it's Ayuso rising to Roglic's level to getting up into the into the higher echelons. And look, man, I don't care what anybody says. Last year was an anomaly. Pogacar was just strong as death in everything that he went, and nobody could hang with him. And there, everybody that is a legitimate contender to Pogacar's throne was injured last year at some point. All right. And 3 of them got taken out in the same race. So they were all in the same position going into the Tour last year. So you can't, I don't know. When you see Primoz race like this, I'm sorry. When I look at it, it's like, I don't know that it would have been much different with outside of maybe Pogacar. I don't know if it would be different, that the outcome would be much different than it was the way that this race shaped up.
So
if you take out the mountain stage, I think all those guys could be on time together.
So this is the preview for the Giro, right?
Correct.
Both Ayuso and Primoz are going to the Giro. So, I mean, when it comes to that race, I see it as a Primoz fan. I'm so not worried about that because Juan Ayuso has not proven himself in terms of being able to sustain the high level over the course of 3 weeks, whereas Primoz has done it time and time and time again. This is nothing to him. He's already won the Giro. He's won the Vuelta 4 times. So I kind of see advantage Roglic going into Giro based on this performance. That being said, Juan Ayuso is having the year of his life so far. I mean, this would have been a feather in the cap after winning what he's had 3 wins in 2 weeks or something like that. So, maybe we're seeing a Juan Ayuso that is at his best possible level, and he might not always be at this level. But who knows? I mean, maybe he's just on his way up, and we'll soon be joining those upper echelons as things start to change. I mean, regardless of what happens, it makes the whole thing very interesting. Let's move on to the other amazing storyline from.
Okay, so which one do you want to go into first? Do you want to go into the Visma story or the American story?
We'll start with Visma.
So, uh, man, obviously I'm a huge Visma fan. Stage one, Matthew fucking Brennan comes out of nowhere and just blows everybody out of the water. What a great win!
So I
I love
believe
this
that
kid, man.
I believe that was 4 wins and 4 starts for him at that time, because he won those two like dot pro level races or whatever,
Hmm.
the lower level races. He won 2 of those, and then the very next race he had was the World Tour race that he won, that we watched, like that was like a week and a half ago.
Yep.
And then this was his very next start, and he won the first stage, so he gets the leader's jersey. So that's 4 wins in 4 starts for a guy. That's a hell of a run
So,
right
and
there.
he's not even supposed to be there. By the way, he is a
Right.
late ad because Jonas got hurt. Jonas was actually supposed to be at this race. He was a late scratch. Matty was a late ad. So, for him to come out here and show really great form sprinting, taking a stage win on stage one, huge. He's in the mix in stage two, where he
In the mix, right
almost
there,
has it. Like he's just barely edged at the end.
bike throw.
Yeah. Ethan Vernon,
Which,
very nice win for Ethan Vernon too. I don't want to take it away from him.
of course not. Speaking of Jonas, when you mentioned Jonas, did you catch the like question that somebody gave him in a post race interview, where they were like, Matthew, you're here because like Jonas ended up not coming. So like, are you like are you a good replacement for Jonas Vingegaard? I mean, he didn't even know what they say. He's like, are you out of your freaking mind? Like, what are you asking me, dude? I'm a 19-year-old that just got to the team and just won a single race. This guy's won the Tour de France 2 times. Are you really asking me like if I'm the big replacement for Jonas? It's like an absurd question. Yeah, and then move ahead to
Stage five.
stage 5, and he just bossed it. And I tell you, every one of these sprints that I've seen him win now, this guy's got such good poise. He's so poised and aware. He's really good at positioning himself. Um, he's not intimidated or whatever, even though he's up there with the big boys now. He's in these races, mixing it up with these big boys. Not intimidated at all. And then he's just got this incredible explosive turn of speed right at the end of these races. I mean,
I'd love to. I'd love to know how his, what do they call it, watts per kilo or whatever it compares to, some of the top guys like Philipsen and Merlier and, those guys. I think it'd be interesting to see what, and look, if Visma ends up losing Olaf Koy at the end of the year, because I'm pretty sure the Koy's contract's up at the end of the year. Bam, they've got a solid option at as another sprinter, and I'm pretty sure that they've got Dan McClay for multiple years at this point. So if Olaf Koy decides to leave, you put McClay and Brennan together, and you got another really good tandem. You got a good veteran guy with a nice young guy with a lot of power, and they could do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you got a little Anglo duo right there, and I'll go ahead and make this maybe not so hot take, but I really think that Brennan is poised to be one of the top 2 or 3 in the world, like 2 years from now. I bet you 2 years from now, he's in all the conversations, just like we're talking about Merlier, Philipsen, and Milan right now. I think Brennan will be.
You think his time is coming?
Conversation. It really is. He's 19, and he rides like a seasoned pro. He really does. Like I'm so impressed with this guy. So, speaking of people who were late additions, who are Thursday additions to this race, let's move on to the reason that I am wearing this hat right now.
My boy Quinn Simmons.
USA.
I could not have been more excited about this yesterday. I got home from work a little bit late. and I I had like 15 or like 15K to go, and I like we did dinner, and I came up and I sat down, and John was here, and when it started, when he launched, I was like, John, get in here, get in here, and I am just like, oh my god, I'm like edge of my seat. I got my hands covering my face. I'm like, is he really gonna do this? Because look, Quinn Simmons, you know, I don't care what anybody has to say about him. He had a hard year last year. He was sick a lot. He's shown these flashes of amazing, you know, talent and breakaway speed, but you know, he hasn't had that big world tour victory yet. And when he launched with like 900 or 980 to go, it was just under a K. I was like, oh my God, is he really going to make it? Because he looks so good. He looks so goddamn strong. And I was like, you know, when he got to about 500, I was like, he could do this. Like, this could happen. And he did a couple of times. He looked back a couple of times where I was like, don't look back. Don't look back. And, but oh my God, just such a, of so many people to get it that have gotten their first tour wins this year where I'm like, you know, super excited. You know, another American. We had Sheffield a couple weeks ago. We got Simmons now. And Anthony McCrossan comes back and says it's becoming the year of the American. Let's go, USA.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. It was wonderful seeing him take this win. I mean, I love the way that Carlos Verona set him up. He puts in just like a nice little turn. Quinn kind of comes from like one wheel back, and Verona peeps him out of the corner of his eye. And the minute he sees that Quinn has made his move, he is immediately on the radio. One has to imagine going, all right, Quinn, go for it, brother. Like, you got, this is yours for the taking. Like, I love seeing that. And like, what a nail biter it was. Like, that finish line just was forever in coming. And you got Pavel Bittner just like approaching him like a rampaging bull. And I mean, Bittner was 1 second behind him. And Quinn has just enough time to push off those handlebars, sit up, he pounds the chest and gives us the little gunshot salute. I'm just like, oh my God, it was so good. Yeah, it was good. So that was a really nice little treat that, you know, had nothing to do with anything in that race, but just made me about as happy as anything else. It definitely made me as happy as seeing Primoz win. So
it was like I said, it was a great race. It was weird. You know, you had some weird things go on with the weather, and you had, you know, obviously the truncated stage yesterday, but man, of all of the races that I watched this week, man, I got a ton of enjoyment out of it. So
yeah, it was great. It was great. We had weirdness and closed stages and, you know, pauses, and yeah, it was just bizarre, but really good start to finish. It was a wonderful week of racing.
So on that note, we'll be right back. Please note, this segment will contain spoilers. If you have not watched the finish of the race and wish to remain unspoiled, please jump ahead to segment 3. Reigning champion and 2 times in a row winner, Jasper Philipsen was back in action defending his title this week at the men's classic Brugge-de-Panne. The effects of his crash a week earlier at Nokere were on full display at Milano-San Remo last weekend as he was unable to defend his title there after dropping off the back of the peloton before reaching the Cipressa, though his lead-out man from last year, Matthew van der Poel, closed the deal in his stead, so there's that. On the women's side, and hot off her huge win at Milan-San Remo, Lorena Wiebes was on the start line and ready to add a second win to her palmarès in this iconic classic in northwest Flanders. But the competition was stiff from reigning champion and 2-time winner Elisa Balsamo and the always dangerous Charlotte Kool. Matt, did Alpecin find a way to repeat? Did Lorena take care of the business for SD Works?
Well, if we're talking about Lorena Wiebes, she takes care of business. So I would say that's a big old yes on that one. Lorena Wiebes just goes from strength to strength. It seems like she is just so darn good. This is her 99th win. I think she will, in fact, beat Alexander Kristoff to 100, as we mentioned on a recent episode. when they were both tied up at 97, and she's already at 99 on Friday. On
Yeah.
Friday of this Thursday of this week. So
Don't spoil segment 3, but there may be more
I
to
think
talk about.
I think my favorite part about the race was the move from Kat Ferguson.
Yes.
She just continues to hold my interest. She has certainly been present, let's say, in her debut in the top level of the women's pro peloton. It did not come to anything, but it was fun to see her off the front, giving it a shot. She's learning what she's capable of, and I like seeing that big M out in the front. So chapeau to Kat Ferguson for that little cheeky attack. And
cheeky attack. She spent $30K on the front of that race, pretty much time trialing. And, I think with her, what she needs the most is experience. Because, I think physical prowess, she's there. Like, she can hang with these, really great riders. I think her tactics need to get a little bit better as far as, how she races, where she attacks, when she attacks. But I think you can expect big things from Kat Ferguson because she looked very, very good.
Yeah, agreed. More to say about Vibis and the sprinters. So in the men's side, you've got kind of like the big three. We've got Merlier, Philipsen, Milan. And they sort of seem like on a given day, any one of the three of them can win. I think on the women's side, it's kind of the big two. I think it's Vibis and Balsamo. And what is kind of a bummer to me is that they are not on the same level.
No.
It's just like Vibis has just got that higher top end than Balsamo. And no matter how good the positioning, like I think Balsamo needs to she needs to try something different because she's not going to win a race if she's hanging on the wheel of Lorena Vibis.
No,
it's just not going to happen. She's got to try to outmaneuver her or something because let's face it, they're both getting great lead outs. That's another thing. This SD Works team, it's not just Kopecky that can provide lead outs for Lorena Vibis. She got an amazing lead out from Barbara Gurishki in that race. And
they have options.
She's the fastest in the world, and she starts the front edge of the sprinters every single time. When was it like? Can you ever remember like Lorena Vibis having to freelance her way from 10 spots back to get? No, she's always like right up there in the mix. But I feel like Balsamo, in most cases, she's right up there too. That squad is really good.
Well, the Little Trek lead out is very, very good. They always have her in the mix, but on the straight up, once they get launched, I don't think there's anybody in the women's pro peloton that can hang with Lorena Vibis right now.
They can't.
She's so far ahead of them at most points. And even thinking back to when she lost that race to Marianne Vos last year, even in that win, she was going to win that race. It was her stupidity. If she'd have rode it through, she would have won that race. So even this one, the one loss that I can think of, like heads up loss that I can think of now.
There was one big, you're forgetting one big one, and that's the first two stages of the Tour de France last year.
Oh,
so Charlotta Cool. Remember Charlotta Cool won the first two stages and had the yellow jersey. True. And I don't know what was off with Vibis then, that she wasn't able to rise to that occasion. But yeah, I just because Charlotta Cool ain't beating Lorena Vibis right now. No chance.
I don't think anybody's beating Lorena Vibis right now. She's won everything she's entered so far this year. So,
it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, and we will talk more about her. So let's transition over to the men's.
Totally insane, like absolutely insane. Well, here's what happened. So in the last last 2Ks maybe, there were 3 crashes. It was just
Well,
on, like, just crash after crash after crash.
there was even crashes before that. I have it marked in my notes from the last 10Ks. There were crashes all over the place. I mean, they just
And
kept happening.
apparently this race is notorious because of all of the road furniture that's happening, like, in the end of this race. I just don't understand why they would continue to run this race through here that's, like, just a freaking obstacle course. Like, it's dangerous. It's freaking
Well,
dangerous.
I heard someone say that, but then they juxtaposed that with the fact that it's it's been that way for years and years and years. And you know, it was they said something too about like the way that the headwinds were or something. It like changed how the race. Typically it's more strung out, and because there was like no wind, everybody was like together. Or maybe it was
So
because
the
it was
the big
cold. I can't remember
the
exactly what
big
it was, but there
pack.
was some weather condition thing that the peloton didn't stretch out, and it normally through that point they are not condensed, and because they were so condensed, they were going through these really narrow roads, and that it was the edges that were causing problems.
Well, I mean, some of that it wasn't the edges at all. I mean, I feel like that first one that of the 3 towards the finish, they were just hooking a left-hand turn, and like a bunch of dudes ended up on the sidewalk in and amongst the spectators. Some guy was his head was bleeding. Um, I
Then
don't know.
the
I just think
you had the wreck that took out Merlier, Coy, DeLee, and a bunch of other ones that was like in the final like 2 or 2.5 or something like that.
Mhm, mhm.
And
And that one was definitely road furniture too, because there was like
yep,
something in the
that
middle of
was
the road
definitely
right
road
there, and guys
furniture.
are flying off the side and onto the sidewalks and stuff. And I'm just like, come on, this just keeps coming up and keeps coming up. And like
And
when tradition and history butt up against safety, safety's got to win. Like,
I agree.
safety's got to win in every one of these things. If this thing is freaking dangerous, then change the ending. You know what I mean? Like, have it end outside of town, or do something, because that's just not acceptable. You know?
The other side of it too, um, at some point, if you go back and watch, you can actually see it was getting choppy in the peloton because there's a spot where Jonathan Milan like gave like a like a shoulder move like at somebody, and it's just like it's dicey in there, man. Like it's I don't know. It was the one of the craziest ends of a race that I've ever seen. And so you get through all of that, and then you get Juan Sebastian Milano attacking, and he's able to fend off Milan and Mads Mikkels, and is able to stay away and mop up a really sloppy ending of a race and give UAE yet another win this year in a
Yeah,
very
exactly.
unconventional one that they were not expecting.
Yep, they get another win, and I gotta, you gotta hand it to Milano. I mean, that was a cagey little move there, and
It was very smart.
you gotta be there to strike when the iron's hot. You got to be able to read a race situation. I think he did that perfectly. I mean, he had a sense that these crashes that happened, I'm sure that the DS is in his ear, and so he's getting an idea of what's happening. He's like, all right, this moment right now is chaos. let
Yes.
me let me capitalize on everybody trying to get their bearings here. I can get a couple of seconds on everybody, and that finish line is not that far away. I
Because you
mean,
had
that's a
like
bike race right there.
because the peloton basically got like three little grenades dropped in it and blew it apart. I mean, it was,
Mhm.
there was just riders everywhere. It was completely strung out. Everybody's wondering, trying to get back into position. Now, hats off to Jonathan Milan for paying attention throughout all of that chaos and realizing, what he needed to do to try to get back into it. But I think it was too little too late for those guys.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
Milano got enough of a jump on them that he wasn't ever going to get caught. I mean, maybe if you had another 1,000 meters for those guys to like full out catch him, but I mean, where he went from what he got, and you could even just tell by the look on his face how surprising it was.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'm going to say a win's a win. You know what I mean? Like Filippo Ganna, he made the right turn in that race in the whatever it was a couple of weeks ago, and he came across the
Yeah.
finish line first. He should have gotten it. That was total BS. Quinn Simmons, it's a The race is shortened to 48 kilometers long. So no one's tired. The fatigue did not come into play when Quinn Simmons won that stage. He was there. He recognized the race situation. He did it. And same thing goes with Jonathan Milano. Hats off to him. He recognized the race situation. He closed the deal. So, an interesting race, and
it was wild.
Crazy finish.
So, on that note, we'll be right back.
Don't miss the Team Bus, our weekly companion podcast to the main Beyond the Slipstream show. Our domestique, if you will, dropping every Wednesday in your usual podcast feed.
Please note, this segment will contain spoilers. If you have not watched the finish of the race and wish to remain unspoiled, please wait to listen until you've had a chance to catch up. After another frustrating run and an elusive Milan-San Remo win last weekend, Tadej Pogačar was supposed to be looking at a small bit of redemption at the E3 Saxo Classic in Harelbeke in Flanders on Friday, where he would face one of the two men who bested him on the Via Roma, MSR winner Mathieu van der Poel. But it was not to be, as he announced midweek that he was pulling out of racing this weekend to focus on a confirmed run at Paris-Roubaix. Meanwhile, on Sunday, just 50 kilometers west, in Ypres, the men and women both set off for the cobbles of Flanders in the always intense Gent Wevelgem. Last year's winner on the men's side, Mads Pedersen, was looking to join the rarefied air of three-time winners, while on the women's side, the unstoppable reigning champion, Lorena Wiebes, was on the start line to defend her title, lining up against the same challengers she bested in MSR last weekend, Elisa Longa-Borghini, Elena Balsamo, and her teammate and current world champion, Lotte Kopecky. Matt, that's a whole lot of Flanders action. What stood out to you?
What stood out? Did anything stand out? Who knows? What did we just say? It's literally, might be the most boring segment we've ever done in 20 episodes. Just because this thing just it played out exactly how we thought it would play out, and in the most boring of possible ways. I don't know. All right, so let's look at all three of these races. First, you got E3. Mathieu van der Poel breaks away and rides by himself for a long time and stands up on his bike as he crosses the finish line, gives us a salute, and that was that. Second one.
It really was. It really was.
All right, second one. Gent Wevelgem. Mods rides away with 40 Ks with a minute and a half lead and wins the race for the third time. Okay. And third one, Lorena Wiebes smokes everybody in the sprint with complete ease, and nobody even stands a chance because she's Lorena. Yeah.
All right,
we should end this segment now. We're about 2.5 minutes in. We're good. Anything else to talk about? This one?
All right. So let's rewind to E3. So, obviously, Mathieu van der Poel is he's built for this shit. I mean, there's just no doubt. It didn't even seem like it was that hard for him. But when he gets into that gear and starts going, he is full out. At one point, I could see his chin on the handlebars, just locked in and cruising. And I mean, look, say what you will, it's boring, but man, he is a fun rider to watch. If you're a giant, Van der Poel fan and you like watching him win, you were super stoked because it was nothing but cameras on him pretty much the whole time. But you have Filippo Ganna coming in third. All right. A week after, coming in third. And all I have to say is this dude's on a mission to take a classic win. And he is fun to watch.
Second last week, by the way.
Huh?
He got second last week.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Second last week. So
he's so fun to watch.
And at least you have that to watch. I thought it was interesting. Tale of two races. the drone shots in the E3 Saxo Classic were not good. Like,
I don't even remember.
yeah,
I
there was a
remember the drone.
couple of drone shots, and they were like really wide, really fast, and like you couldn't really see anything. Again, I'm all for the drone thing, but like, can we not get better cameras? Like, I don't know what the deal with that is. Like sometimes, like in the cyclocross, they look so good. Like I don't understand. Like it's like why are you buying the cheapest drone ever?
Who knows? It's funny that you mentioned that because you had said that last week. Like I really like the drone shots, and you were like, the quality of the video could have been better, but like as far as the camera movement was really good, and the Lantern Rouge completely made that exact same comment that you made about the quality of the cameras, like being like, can we get a better camera here? So I don't know. We do need to add that as a subject sometime. Well, I want to do a whole segment on like drone footage in sports and like where it's
All
going
right.
because it's still promising. I'm glad to see the drones out there and being used and people like putting them in the action and learning from them. Yes, I've been absolutely loving the Filippo Ganna storyline this entire spring. Um, yeah, for whatever reason, it's like his TTing has sort of it's come down a notch. There were like 2 years ago, Filippo Ganna was dominant in TTing, and now Filippo Ganna at TT is like he should win, but maybe something else happens. Um, at the same time, though, seeing how he just continues to improve and actual, win non-TT races, be in the mix, and take these podiums and stuff like that is awesome. He's People Ghana, you know what I mean? He's like
Do you
he's
see him?
Ineos,
Do you see him
he's the
slam the
Italian,
beer? Do you see him slam the beer on the
Oh,
podium?
I did not. I did not. I
Yeah.
noticed Ayuso not drinking beer
Yes.
at the Catalunya. However, I did notice Primo's drinking the beer at the
Okay.
end of Catalunya.
So it's so funny too. So on the podium at E3, they give the third and the second guy like just normal glasses of beer. All right, and they give Vanderpool this, you know, comically large,
Really? Oh my God. I gotta
like
go back and watch that. I missed that.
this comically large beer that he doesn't drink. They do like a little cheers, and then he gives it to the crowd, which he did last year too, I believe. Um,
Do people in
so
the crowd drink it?
yes. Yeah, you got to go back and watch it. Yeah,
I
okay.
have got to go
Yeah.
back and
How funny is it that the best part of the
what?
race is the podium at the end? Like this is the most interesting part of it.
That's
But
crazy.
Peepo takes his beer after they cheers and slams it. And like,
Mm.
of course the crowd goes wild. And,
Oh, I'm so checking that
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
So now, other than that, I think, I know there's not a ton of stuff to talk about with these two races. Um,
Well, with E3, it was a foregone conclusion. There was
yes.
no way that Matthew Van Der Poel was not winning that race. Absolutely no way.
My two takeaways from the other two races are this. First takeaway is Mads Pedersen does join a, elite group of three-time winners, in that race. And, even though it was a snooze fest, I don't want to take away that's special, and it's nice to see him get a nice a nice big win. I know it's something
Agreed.
that he's won before. It's not something new to add to the Palmaros, but winning the same race three times is not an easy task in any race. So, chapo to Mads Pedersen. And on the
Absolutely.
flip side, with Lorena Wiebes, 100th win, you have to take your hat off to her. You know, the way she looks, man, she get to 250. I mean, she just seems like she's going to win everything she enters.
It's insane. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane how dominant she is, and it's like it's weird. 20 years from now, you and I are gonna be like kicked back. We're gonna be talking cycling in at a bar someplace, and some dude's gonna be like, "Oh, are y'all talking about blah?" And we're gonna start talking, and we're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we were there for the whole Lorena Vivas thing. Oh, Tadej Pogacar, yeah, we saw all that, like Matthew Van Der Poel, like you know what I mean? Like we're seeing some just
A
beyond
legendary rider.
generational level talent
Yeah.
with some of these riders. I mean, it's just insane how Lorena Vibas is like 26.
Mm-hmm.
She's got 100 wins. It's insane. I mean, one has to imagine she will end up in Marianne Vos level numbers,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, she's
got
has
100
to be
wins
on
now.
trajectory. I mean, Marianne Vos has what?
She got like
Probably
240,
a decade
246
plus on her right now.
Yeah.
Imagine what she's going to do in a decade. I mean, obviously, another Lorena Wiebes could come along, but there's no reason to think that she couldn't be dominant for the next 5 years. Like, there's nobody that's even close to her, in my opinion, in the pro peloton right now. So, like, until you show me a real contender, like,
and she seems like a franchise player. I mean, she's already on the biggest team. I mean, she's on the same team with Lotta Kopecky, and she's just stacking up wins.
Well,
so she has no incentivization to go to any other team. It would be pointless for her to go to another team. And her team seems to have their shit together like the most. Like, it doesn't matter who she goes to a race with. She's going to get a world-class lead out. She's going to be right on the front end of the peloton, and she's going to win that sprint like every freaking time.
This is Kopecky now two weeks in a row giving her, massive lead outs. I mean, this is a team that is not skipping a beat losing Demi Vollering. You know what I'm saying? You wonder when we look back on this, a year from now, and we see how this season shapes out. Do we look back and go like, man, SD Works knew exactly what they were doing, letting her go? Or do we look and go like, oh man, they were stupid for letting her go? Because honestly, right now, I feel like it could go either way. All right. I don't think that SD Works gives a shit that they lost Demi Vollering. And Demi Vollering's one of the best riders in the world.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, they've got Anna van der Breggen there to make a run at the Tour de France. Meanwhile, they are just going to mop up every freaking one day and every big 1 day race there is out there. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're like, I mean, they're sort of the UAE of the women's side.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking the exact thing.
Yeah, they've got, I mean, whereas their big star is kind of two big stars. They've got like the really good sprinter and they've got the really good puncher, whereas UAE has just got the really good all around guy. He's kind of like both of them in one. But yeah, no matter where they go and where they show up, they've got just a squad ready to handle the business. I don't know, and I wonder what that says. How does that say when you reflect back on like what happened with Demi at the Tour de France last year and how that team like couldn't have shit the bed harder? Like, I don't know, it makes it more kind of fascinating to me.
It'd be interesting to hear like everybody's side on. I would love to hear that because, of course, like, no matter what, all you're going to hear right now is like, oh, yeah, we're cool, whatever. But, it'd be interesting to hear the real shit. Like, no holds barred from both sides of that,
Yes, it would.
That thing.
It'd
be
sure
very
would.
interesting to know like what really happened. Because of course you're going to get the PR version of it, in the news. So, but boy, I'd love to know like what it was like that last year, with them, I just, from the team side, was the team like, yeah, we're not interested in re-signing you. We don't want to pay you all that money. Like, we think that we're good.
Yeah, and I mean they're winning like crazy. So we'll see what happens when we get to the Tour. I can't imagine that Van der Breggen doesn't end up at least on the podium. So in terms of just like your UCI points and your winnings and the dollars and figures and stuff like that, I don't think they're going to suffer at the Tour. They might not win it. I'd say there's a decent chance that they don't win it, but also Kopecky is sort of driving towards transitioning into that Grand Tour kind of ride. So it's going to be interesting one way or the other. And of course, Lorena Vivas is really going to have like a chip on her shoulder Tour de France wise about last year, when she got beat twice in a row. So, I wanted to mention one more thing, but we should probably wrap it. And that is, there was a couple of really nice, like long overhead shots where you were getting the camera shot as they were running in towards the finish last like 2, 3, 4Ks, where like they didn't cut away from the helicopter shot for like a long while, like a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. It was really cool the way that Kopecky and Vibis were both in those like white champions jerseys, the world champs and the European champs. And you could just see them like the instant you glanced at it, you could immediately pick them out. And then you would look right behind Vibis and you'd see, what's her name? Balsamo's ponytail right behind her. And I mean, Balsamo was just locked on her wheel the entire time. This is what I was saying earlier. Like she's going to have to come up. She got to come up with something different because you're completely capable of hanging on Lorena Viva's wheel. You've proven that, but that's not going to work. That's not a strategy for you. So
she has to like get on an even launch because it's like Weebus's takeoff is so strong that if she's waiting to answer, she's never going to beat her. She has to be the one to make the first move. She has to make
behind her. Yeah, she needs to be behind her lead out rider, lead out person, and they need to hopefully be on one side of the road with like another team in between them so that like Vivas like can't see her, and she needs to get that 5-second jump or something like that.
She's got the power. Move. Look at what she did in Alfredo Binda. I mean, she looked great in Alfredo Binda, and she, that was a slog of a race, and she, came out and crushed it. So, you're right. She got to figure it out. So,
for sure.
On that note, we'll wrap it up. We'll come back for another ride in the Broom Wagon. Welcome back. We're going to go for another ride in the Broom Wagon. Matt, what do you got for us this week?
All right. I am going to talk about something in the Broom Wagon this week that may become a recurring Broom Wagon segment. Maybe I need to come back and visit this, once a year. Knock on wood. This podcast keep going that long. And that is that I am going to implore all of our listeners to behave yourselves in restaurants. So, as you know, I work in a restaurant. I'm a bartender, and I have seen some really bad behavior on the part of guests in the past couple of weeks here, and I want to highlight a couple of these behaviors because I'm also a restaurant guest. In fact, I was at a restaurant last night, and I was very, very nice and considerate to all of the staff there that were working very hard. So, first little anecdote I want to mention. I have a lady that comes in on a regular basis. So she's also a regular. That's something I'll get to in a second. But she comes in on a regular basis. She's very high maintenance. She is the kind of diner that no matter what she orders, there's always something. It doesn't matter what it is. When you go back to check on her, which you always do, hey, how are you enjoying everything? Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, like 80% of the time we end up remaking whatever it is that she's ordered. She's that kind of a person. Okay. And as is often the case with these kinds of stories, it was a Friday night, which here's a little inside baseball for you for you non-restaurant folks. Friday night is that's when all the amateur diners come out that don't know how to behave themselves. This lady's a regular, so she should know better. We are getting totally slammed, and she's not reading the room, and she's not doing what real regulars do, what good regulars do, which is understand that they're on the side of the staff because they're a regular. They're on our side. So when they see us getting killed, they're diverting people's attention. They're kind of, facilitating things. What they're definitely not doing is being super high maintenance the way they always are. It's like, you know what? I take care of you real, real well when you do all your little high maintenance games and everything's always wrong all the time. But now when you can see that I'm getting killed, why don't you take it down a couple of notches? Okay, because you're not being a good regular, you're being an asshole. And after all this, a couple of weeks ago, that lady writes 0 on the tip line and writes on there poor service exclamation point. And guess what? She was back less than a week later. Really? Because if it was so bad that you had to write a 0 on my credit card slip just to remind me 0 and poor service, and then you're back in a week, really? Was it that bad? Because you seem to have come back awfully quickly if it was that bad. So that kind of crap, if you're the kind of person that goes out to a restaurant and behaves that way, you need to knock it off. You need to check yourself, because people that work restaurant jobs, it's a hard job. It's a grind. It is a massive emotional lift to have to be up and happy and on point for people day in and day out when you're not making a lot of money and you're working in an exploitation business. You're being exploited every day of your life when you go into work at that restaurant, and then you have to deal with some unbelievably like high maintenance asshole that's making you run back and forth when they can clearly see how busy you are because it's all playing out right there in front of their face. Seriously, do better. If you are a regular at a restaurant, understand that it's on you to be on the side of that wait staff. Okay. You're part of the team. You're going to get special privileges if you're a regular. They're going to hook you up with stuff. Oh, there's an extra espresso martini. Can you get rid of this? They're going to come to your table and be like, hey, look what I got. Like there's give and take, and you can be a good regular and you can be on that staff's side. And the last thing to say about it is that when it comes to tipping, if you're going out to restaurants and you're not tipping people 20%, even when the service is okay, kind of fuck you. You know what I mean? Kind of fuck you, because those people are out there working hard. You can afford to go into that restaurant. I mean, think about it this way. What if you had decided to get dessert that day instead of not getting dessert? Your check would have been $13 more, and you would have paid it and paid the tip, and your life would be exactly the same. So what if you just threw an extra $10 on top of whatever tip you would normally give? Just put an extra $10 on top. Why? Just because I can, just because I've got a life that allows me to go out to restaurants on a regular business, on a regular basis, and eat great food and, have this enjoyable experience that a lot of people in my community can't afford at all. But I can afford it. I'm blessed in my life. So when I go out to dine, I'm going to, like, whatever I used to tip, whatever I used to be, like a 20% tipper, well, from now on, my rule is 20%, plus I always throw an extra $10 on there. And that's just my thing, because you have no idea how you can change someone's day with a simple gesture like that. That means nothing to you. And if you're out there writing $0 on the tip line and poor service and stuff like that, go see your therapist or something, because there's something wrong with you. If you need to take your anger out on people that way, something's wrong. Something's not connecting. Find a better way. Do better in restaurants. Behave yourselves, folks. We love taking care of you.
So, two things to say about that. And there's a lot more, especially on the tipping side. But John Oliver, on his show on HBO, like a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, he did a whole episode on tipping. I think it's important to note that people that are work on tips typically make a significant amount less than everybody else, because the hourly wage for a tipped employee legally can be like, I think the national level is like, 250 or less, you know what I mean, per hour, and then your tips on top of that. So, I encourage you that if you don't understand how tipping works, or you've never worked in a restaurant as a waiter, or, you know, really don't have an actual grasp on it, go watch that John Oliver, that episode of the John Oliver show. What is it called? Last Week
Very
Tonight.
enlightening. Yeah, it's very enlightening.
It will explain to you how tips work.
I'll try
and
to drop
why.
a link in.
Yeah. Throw a link in there. And I totally agree. the unwritten contract of a restaurant is that you are now dining in public with other people and being served. And just because you're paying for something doesn't give you the right to treat people like shit. All right. That is not part of the social contract. That's part of you being an asshole. Like, if you're the person that goes into a place that you're spending money and thinks that because you're spending money, it gives you some sort of right to treat people less than human, you're an asshole. Stop going out. Nobody wants to interact with you.
And a big problem with this system is that there's this money part involved, because like there are other ways. If you really have a problem with your service or whatever, there's other ways to make your voice heard than screwing somebody over on a tip. Okay, because think about it this way. Let's say you're, I don't know, Justin, name any kind of a job.
Grocery store cashier.
Okay, so sometimes a grocery store cashier might inadvertently might be having a bad day, and so like they're not super friendly when somebody comes through and they ring up their groceries, and then that person kind of takes offense to it for whatever reason. Well, imagine if that person, just on their own, without any interaction with the grocery store or anything, they could trigger something that caused that person to make less money. I mean, that's what you're doing when you put a zero tip down the line. So, oh, I'm going to punish this person. You're the diner. It's not on you to. They work for their company. It's not on you to decide how to punish them for whatever your perceived wrongdoing is, or their problem with their job performance. And that's why the whole tipping system should go away, because it's disgusting. And John Oliver will bring you up to speed on that whole deal. But like, that's what you're doing when you give somebody a lower tip because they didn't do a good job, or I didn't like that person or whatever. You're just a piece of crap. You know what? If you're really that concerned with it, give them 20%, like you should, and grab the manager on the way out and say, hey, they seem like they're having a bad day. You might want to, that kind of thing. So, I mean, if you need to do that, or even better, say to them directly, you seem like you're having a tough day. I hope things go better for you. You know what I mean? Just do some kindness.
Yeah.
Instead of getting a goddamn chip on your shoulder and, no, I'm going to take it out of their tip. Assholes. Yeah. All right.
Like I said,
let's get off our soapbox. Thank you for climbing up there on it with me.
No, I totally agree with you.
Please, please proceed.
So what I want to talk about on the Broom Wagon this week is a way that you can support local business, but also that could be a benefit, to you personally. As a homeowner, and we both are, when you have to replace a major appliance, let's just be honest, it's a bitch. All right. It can be very, very inconvenient. And I know that you personally have been going through a washer problem, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So a washer problem where, you've got to, figure out how to way to get, because you're waiting for parts or service or whatever it is. You are, without your washer for a certain amount of time, and you have to adapt to that, and it's a pain in the ass. Some people, luckily you can run over to the family and you're doing some laundry over there, but I'm getting off the topic. During the pandemic, when everything was shut down, our fridge went at a very inopportune time. So I had to scramble and go out and try to buy a fridge during the pandemic. I went to Lowe's and they had a fridge that I wanted to buy. It was sitting on the floor. They didn't have one in the back. They were like, you can't buy. I was like, well, let me buy that one. I'll take that one right there on the floor. I don't care if a bunch of people have opened and closed it. I want that one. And he goes, you can't have that one, but I can sell you this one in the back. More money, by the way. And I was like, you know what? No, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not letting you force me into buying something that I don't want after I research this on your website and you're telling me I can't buy it. I said, no, honey, we're leaving. As inconvenient as that was. So now I'm in like full on, I'm going to like find the right fridge mode. And so I'm doing all this stuff. And my father-in-law, Ted, said to my wife when she was lamenting the fact that we didn't have a refrigerator at the moment, that we needed to buy a fridge. And he said, well, you should go to this place in Punxsutawney, which is about a 30-minute ride from here, 40-minute ride from here, from where I live. Sorry. And go to the place where I've been buying my appliances from for years. It's called Lowmaster in Warden. And it's a family-owned and operated appliance store. And if you Google any, in your area appliance stores, I'm going to guess that you will find a local appliance store somewhere that is family-owned and operated. And the biggest difference that I found when I went out there to buy this refrigerator was the level of customer service and care that I got was superior to any big box store that I've ever been to. But what the owner told me, because I dealt with the owner, I didn't deal with just Joe at Lowe's. I dealt with the owner of the store. What the owner told me was that the appliances that they buy are at a higher quality, even though they're some of the same manufacturers. What they're buying is a higher quality unit because Lowe's is buying these units en masse. All right, and Home Depot is buying these units en masse and then distributing them to, the local store. And the ones that they're buying are of lower quality. They have shittier parts. They're more likely to break because they're bottom line driven. They're not going straight to the end consumer. Whereas, instead of having this giant corporation in between you and the other giant corporation that's making your refrigerator, now you have a mom and pop store that's buying a higher quality product and selling it at a very reasonable price. And in my case, they'll service any appliance I buy there for life. All I have to do is buy parts. All right. Now, in my case, I have to be within a certain, mileage window, but I'm in that mileage window. I'm at the very end of it, but I've now bought 3 major appliances from there. I've never had an issue with any of them since I bought them. Number one. And then if I do have an issue, all I have to do is pick up the phone and schedule, for them to come out and take a look at it. They'll bring the parts, they'll install them. And the only thing I have to pay them is for the part itself. And so I encourage you to go out and try to find when you need an appliance, go out and find a place like this to be able to buy them, because I didn't have to buy a warranty. All right. All I have to do is buy the part to fix the thing that I purchased. And, that peace of mind is amazing. And on top of that, it's really nice stuff. I went in when we bought the dishwasher and I was going to pick one that was $200 more than I ended up spending, because when I told the owner I really don't need any frills in my dishwasher, I just need a basic dishwasher, he was like, well, then I got the perfect one over here for you. It just came off the truck and it's $200 cheaper. When the fuck does that ever happen? So, shopping local has its perks.
Nice.
So,
Love it.
I encourage you all to do that. So, excuse me. That's all for this week. Join us next week for an all Belgian classics episode with coverage of the men's and women's Dwars door Wandelen, and of course, the big front end of pro cycling's Holy Week, the Ronde van Vlaanderen, aka the Tour of Flanders. We'll have full segments for each of the women's and men's races. Until then, for my brother Matt, I'm Justin Harper. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us for another ride beyond the slipstream. Allez!
Beyond the Slipstream is a production of Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, smash that button, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Allez!